Hi everyone, welcome to Tech Booth. Today I'm going to show you how to use this a DMX light controller to program these Parkans LED Parkan lights. So the first thing we want to do is to look at the board itself and the different functions. It's just your power switch. You have your DC input, that's where your power goes in. You have your DMX out, this is where you connect the cable that goes to your lights. And then you have a polarity switch. So the cable you use to connect to your lights looks very much like a microphone cable, your regular XLR cable. In fact, you can actually use a microphone cable instead of this, but it is not recommended. This is a generic DMX board. You'll find these in different models, different makes, but they're all basically laid out the same and they work in the same way. So let's start with this first section. You see it's labeled scanner buttons. Simply put, these are your different lights that you have connected. So for this DMX board, it can control 12 lights. So let's go on to the second part of this board, and this is this part right here. And these are your channel controls. So for this board, you have 1 to 8. Those are your 8 channels. When this LED is lit, you have access to the first 8 channels. And then you can press this button, page select, and then you now have access to the next 8, 16. But you're using the same faders. We've done the fixtures or the scanner buttons, and we said each of these controls a single light. And then we've done these faders. These are called channels or channel faders, and they are what you're going to use to program your lights. So let's look at how these faders are related to these. Let's say you wanted to program light 1 to do something. What you do is you select the light and you select which page, which channel you're going to be using. So for now I can press that. That means this light, channel 1, is what you're now controlling. So now let me explain a bit what channels are. Now we call our lights intelligent lights because they can do different things. So you might get a light that rotates, it tilts, it pans, it changes colors. So all those different things are allocated a channel on the light. And so turning a light blue is one channel, turning a light red is another channel, turning a light green is another channel, making the light tilt is another channel. And so when you've got your light selected, you now have access to all the different things that your light can do. So for fixture 1, I can turn this up, and maybe that controls the red channel. And so when you turn it up, the light turns red. When you turn it down, it turns off the light. Maybe the second channel is allocated green. And so when I turn it up, that light turns green. And when I turn it down, that light goes off, and so on down the line. So for now, just remember each channel controls something on your light. For each light that you have, this board can actually control up to 16 different things that your light can do. So when you multiply 16 channels by the 12 lights, you have 192 channels. The next thing we want to look at as we familiarize ourselves with the board are these buttons at the top that are labeled scene buttons. Scene is something that comes from the theater. So for example, you might be having a play or a drama going on stage, and that stage needs lighting. And maybe scene 1 is just one person who is talking to themselves, and you only need one light shining on them. And so you have this one light. Maybe it's green, maybe let's say this is white. You have a white light shining on one person. And then the next scene comes and it's a crowd. And you need 6 lights. So you have to switch on 6 lights. And maybe they're all white, so you push the button up. And those are your 6 lights that are shining on stage. Maybe the next scene is at night and you need all the lights switched off. So you switch off and you switch off all your lights. But as you can see, if we were going to do it that way, it would be very, very cumbersome. You're always pushing up the faders. So what we do is we program every scene. So if a drama has 8 scenes, or maybe it's a musical concert that has different lighting requirements for each song, and they're doing 8 songs, you can actually program each of those as a scene, so that when scene 1 comes, all you do is press that and whatever you've programmed comes up. The lights that you've programmed come up. The next scene, you just press this and the next lighting setup comes up, and so on. So those are your scene buttons, and those are very important. Let's move on to the last section of the board. I'll just explain the buttons that we have on the last section of the board. We've already mentioned this page selector for here, so that's done. You have your LED screen, and it has lots of information that it displays, and it's quite self-explanatory. You have blackout, so it means when you press this blackout, all the lights go off and this little LED there comes on. See, it's flashing. Now it's off. There's the program. If you press the program button, it comes on. It means now you're programming the lights. And then you also have LEDs that tell you which chase. We'll explain what a chase is just now. Which scene you're in, I'll explain that as well. Which bank you're in, whether you're in auto, whether you're controlling the board using music and all that. So your LED shows you where you are and what you are doing. Let me quickly explain chase. Simply put, a chase is a series of scenes that are programmed to run one after another. So when you have a chase and you press auto, whatever you've programmed into that chase runs one step at a time. So maybe you programmed scene 1 to play, and then scene 3 to play, and then scene 8 to play, and then scene 6 to play. You put it all that in the chase, and you'll see how we'll do that. And then when you run that chase, the lights come on following the program that you've put them in. These 2 faders control the speed of your chases. So if you're in chase 1 and you're running, the different scenes are changing. This controls the speed at which they change from one scene to the next. So the slowest is 600 seconds. So every 600 seconds, the scene changes. The fastest is 0.1 second. That's almost immediate. You can also have a fade time between your scenes. When it's the lowest, the scenes just cut one from the other without any fading in between. And when it's 30 seconds, the lights change smoothly from one scene to the next. Let's look at these buttons. The program button is what you press when you are programming your lights, and we'll see how we do that. The MIDI or add button is what you use to add whatever you've programmed, so it's like a save. The auto delete depends what you're doing. In auto, it runs your chases. So when you've programmed your chase, you press the auto button and the lights start changing. The music and bank copy depends what you're doing. You can use music. This has a built-in microphone, so you can use the beat of the music to change your lights from one scene to the next. So instead of using auto to run your chases, you can use music so that the lights change at the beat of the music. It's not very good, but it's usable. And then finally you have the tap sync or display button. With this one, if you have a good sense of rhythm and you're listening to a piece of music and you want to program your lights so that they change, you want to have your lights change in rhythm to that beat, you just tap out the rhythm and your board senses that rhythm and starts changing the lights in rhythm to that music. And then this final one, blackout, is just what it says. It switches off everything. Okay, let's look at what's going on with our lights at the back here. So you have your power cable, you have your DMX in. So this cable, so you connect the cable that's coming from your board in here, like this. And then you use this to connect to the cable that is going to connect to your next light, like so. So this is from your board, this goes out to the next light. If you only have one light, or this is the last light in your chain of lights, you are supposed to connect a terminator. It's like a plug, a terminator plug to this to indicate that there are no more lights in the chain. If you don't do that, your lights might behave abnormally. And then finally you have your screen that shows you the different things that you're going to program. So now let's start setting up these lights. I've already connected the board to this one light. I haven't switched on the controller yet because you can actually control the light using the panel at the back without a controller. So right now it's green. I can go back here and change the colors using the back. But what we want to do is to be able to use the board. So let's switch on the board. Remember I told you these are the light fixtures 1 to 12. The board needs to know which light it is talking to. And so before you even start programming, you need to set it up so that the board knows which one is light 1, which one is light 2, which one is light 3, and which one is light 4. So in this setup we have 6 lights, so we're going to tell it which one is light 1 and which one is 2, which one is 3. And the way this works is, remember I told you each light is intelligent and each thing that it does is assigned a channel. So if I want to change a color, I can move a fader and that color comes up, and so on. So let's just assume this light can do 4 things, and that is to change colors: red, green, blue, and white. Those are 4 channels. Those channels are reserved on the board. So channels 1 to 4 are reserved for this light. But what you need to tell the board is which channel is the first one. And by default, channel 1 is assigned to your first light. That's the default setting. This board actually allocates channels 1 to 16 to your first light by default. Even if your light doesn't have 16 channels, it will still allocate the first 16 channels to that first light. So it means the next free channel that you can use is channel 17. The first digit, the first number in that series is called the starting address. So the starting address for your first light is 1. The starting address for the next light will be channel 17. Remember I told you channels 1 to 16 are reserved for this light, even though it doesn't have 16 channels. The board still reserves those channels for this light. So the next available channel is 17, and that becomes the starting address for your next light. If you have another light, you add 16 and you find that the next starting address is channel 33. So what you need to do for each of the lights is go to the back, use the menu on the back to set the starting address for each light. So this is light 1, so I'm going to set the starting address to 1 on this light. And your documentation should tell you how to do it on the screen. So as you can see right now, my light is off. So I'm going to select it by pressing this, and then I'm going to move this fader up, and voila. Okay, so it is seeing it. The next fader should control the green channel. Let's see if that's correct. There you go, the green has come up. The next fader should control the blue channel. There you go, there's blue. So the first thing is you want to select the scene that you want to program, and if you look on the LCD screen, it shows you that you are in scene 1. It also shows you that you are in bank 1. This board has got 16 banks, so you can program 8 scenes into 16 banks. That's a lot of scenes that you can save. Okay. So once you've done that, the next thing you want to do is to press the program button for about 2 seconds, and on the LCD the program starts to blink to show you that you're in program mode. The next thing you want to do is select the light. So we're going to program the first light, and it comes on. We now make the adjustments that we want. Remember I told you for these lights it seems like I only have 3 adjustments. That is making the light red, making the light green, or making the light blue. And then you can also mix the different colors to get any color that you want. So let's say for this first scene, all I want is for the light to be red. So I push that up and the light goes red. So once you've done that, the next thing you want to do is to save. So you go here where it says add, you press that, and it has added whatever you've done. Next thing is to press the scene button. So you are adding to scene 1. The LED flashes, that means that has been successful. And now you want to get out of program mode, so you press that for 2 seconds. When you do that, the board goes into blackout mode, so all the lights go off. So for you to get back your lights, you press blackout again, and your light comes back on and your scene is saved. So even when this fader is down, when I now press scene 1, it recalls my setting for that scene, so that light comes up as red. So the last thing I'm going to show you is how to create a chase. And a chase, remember I told you, it's basically programming scenes so that they run automatically one after the other. Hit that program mode again. Now it's flashing. You can choose which bank you want to put your chase in. Right now I'm just putting it in bank 1. You select the chase, so I'm programming chase 1, and now you just add your scenes. So I'm going to add scene 2 to begin with. I hit add, the board flashes, that means you're successful. I'm going to add scene 1 next. I hit add, again it flashes. I'm going to add scene 3 next. Add, and that's it. And now you get out of program mode by pressing this for 2 seconds. All the lights go off, blackout mode. To get your lights back, you press blackout again, and the lights come back on. And that's it, an introduction to the DMX light control box. and how you can use it to program your lights and run them.